Happy Friday, everyone. I am on time. I am caffeinated. I've gone over my topics that I wanted to talk about. So here we go. Um, I just wanted to say that somehow YouTube heard, maybe from my videos, that I was talking about Homelander because it started giving me like little snippets from the show. I haven't seen The Boys. Although I am aware of it and I'm aware of the general plot line of the show. Hold on, let me fix this. This may not be the right color shirt. Oh well. But anyway, so I was watching Homelander, and for some reason, the first clips YouTube decided I needed to see were these heinous murders that occur at something called, what is it? It's like Voight is the company. Okay, so he apparently goes to this company that raised him, and he starts killing the people in ways that at first seem humiliating, and then he sort of reveals why he's doing what he's doing. And it's because he's essentially flipping the script on how these people were torturing him as a child. So because I didn't know, I went from like, oh, this horrible person to like, oh, okay. Oh, I see what's going on here. Obviously not co-signing it, but it was interesting to go to the comments, and so many comments were talking about like these are the only murders that are justified that Homelander did. And it makes me think about victims of abuse who want to stand up for themselves against someone who's been harming them, and stand up for themselves, and maybe even take vengeance and get something back. And it really makes a difference where the audience or the third person or whomever is adjacent to the situation makes a difference as to how those people see the dynamic, and whether or not they think that what the victim is doing, like whether or not they're even the victim. Yeah, so I mean, obviously in this particular case, all right, just because you can understand where someone is coming from doesn't mean that you necessarily agree with it. And also, um, I feel that that's something that a lot of abusers in particular really struggle with. Um, it's not just that they can't perspective take for other people, it's that on some level they feel like they're betraying themselves if they do that, or hold on, I had a better way of phrasing it. Oh, okay. That they feel like they're betraying themselves or their values and morals if they see something from someone else's perspective. So when they're talking to a victim and the victim's like, well, I just want you to understand what I'm saying. You don't even have to agree with it. Just understand that what I'm saying is how I'm feeling, and also that it's within the realm of reason. And they will adamantly act like they have no idea what you're talking about. Because on some level, it's like for them, if they do that, then they're saying that you're right and they're wrong. Which, when we do what we've learned, which is they've shown us who they are, they've shown us how they think, and then we can use that to sort of flip things around so we understand like what they're doing and thinking. It really makes it clear that when you are saying, oh, I understand where you're coming from, when you are giving the abuser empathy and you're saying, I understand your feelings, even if I don't agree with them, but I understand them, they hear that as you agree with me, or I'm right. So that's why I think, in my opinion, they resist it so much in the direction of the victim. Even if it's intellectually the most logical, reasonable way to feel, they're going to act like they have no idea what you're talking about is at all remotely reasonable. And it is extremely frustrating. I think it underpins some of the gaslighting that victims experience because you're literally like, wait a minute, like this is normal, right? Like my opinion, like I'm not a crazy person, and that's why being able to have like those outside people is so important because you can touch base, get a reality check, and really get someone else's input on kind of the topic. So I remember I was arguing with my son's father about whether or not our child should have Christmas. And I remember being like, okay, I'm not a crazy, right? Kids should get Christmas. I mean, they'll have you just very twisted up in your mind, even questioning what is reasonable. And I think it's because they have that internal resistance to even conceptualizing or thinking about things from your perspective and position. Oh, hey. Oh, how are things? How are you doing? How is the projects going? Not to put you on the spot, just saying hello. So I was talking about Homelander and how Homelander basically YouTube decided I needed to watch some Homelander shorts, and I hadn't actually seen the show yet, though I'm familiar with it, and could be better. Mm. I will say, I know you'd mentioned something about a microphone, but I think okay, see, I hadn't seen it. We're gonna circle back around to that, but I was gonna say about the microphone, the phone microphones are actually really great. The phone microphone is my best microphone, I think, and I don't film with my phone because I like to use it, but maybe the filming you do with your phone might be really great. I don't know, just a thought. But anyway, yeah, so we were talking about the boys. And so YouTube decided that I should watch some YouTube shorts. And it dropped me into some shorts where he's in the basement of the Vote building with these people who like tortured him when he was a kid, and he's murdering them in these ways that relate to the ways that they tortured him. I didn't know all that backstory. And so I'm looking at him like, oh, that's horrifying. And then you get the context, you're like, well, it's still horrifying, but okay, I see how we got here. Yeah, I use my earbuds and BandLab. Oh, okay, great. That's good. That's good. Well, anytime you want to pop in and share like what your progress is, like I'm here for it. I really love to see people trying new things. You don't have to be an expert at it. You get better as you do it. That's how I approach things with my son. Basically, it's like, let's try a new thing and see what we think. So I feel like the more you do something, the more you hone in on what works for you, what feels natural, and you build your skill set. And also, it gives you like that sense of accomplishment and that you are doing something really valuable, if not to the world, at least to your soul. So I don't know where you're at with reading stuff, but like I guess you can't really do the AOC because that stuff has its own like little copyright. I know people write scripts for things. That could work. Anyway, just thoughts, just thoughts. Um, yeah. So the Homelander thing. Oh, I'm about to be really spicy. This is the very hot take. Okay, so when the whole Israel thing popped off, not 2023, I think, but 2024. Whenever the whole original Iran stuff started going down, or no, that was their invade. They went into God anyway. So I was like, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna research. I'm gonna research and see who's right. I'm gonna have an informed opinion because this is all very confusing. I'm not familiar with this area of the world. I know that there's Sunni and Shia Islam and that some countries are one and some countries are the other. But I wanted to get some more information. And what I discovered was that it depends on where you start and stop the timeline, whether or not you think a certain group should be there or not there, or whether you think somebody's actions are justified or not justified. And, particularly, this is going to sound random, but I grew up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, and so the King of Jordan, he actually was on. He had like a walk-on role in one of the TNG episodes, and so I was sort of familiar with him from back then. And so I was like, why is the King of Jordan, who I know to be a Star Trek fan, who's very oriented towards, supporting people in need and refugees, like why is Jordan with Israel on this? Like, it was so complex. And so my very broad takeaway was that the perspective someone has of whether violence is justified is going to depend on where they come in to the timeline and then what they're seeing. So another example of this is I actually saw a video of the guy who plays Jack Reacher. What's that dude's name? He was in the Hunger Games. He's huge. Anyway, so he's on video beating the crap out of some guy off a bike, or he was on a bike, and the guy's like a neighbor. And it seems like the neighbor guy was upset that the Jack Reacher guy was coming through the neighborhood. Anyway, I didn't know any of the context. I'm just watching this massive man beat up this smaller man, and it's like, oh, eh, am I on which side am I on here? Do I think this is moral? Do I think this is right? And it really made me think about how you have to have more context on the violence to see whether or not you think it's justified and agree with it. And so I just yeah, so that's why I tell victims of abuse to be really careful, especially with their parents. If you had abusive parents and you're finally in a position to stand up for yourself, you got to be careful because other people, they are not necessarily seeing that context. They may not necessarily agree. And so, in your mind, you're thinking, oh, yes, I'm standing up for myself. And that is not what the exterior perspective is for other people who are not familiar with the situation and don't have the background. And that was a sad day for me because I want to be able to tell victims of abuse to stand up for themselves. And instead, I'm having to say, be aware of be aware of your third party observers and be careful about the limits of the force that you use and do your best so that no one mistakes you for the aggressor. And that sucks because you want to be able to say to victims, protect yourself and stand up for yourself. And it feels like it never ends. If like we want a cleaner end to the story that's triumphant, and unfortunately that just doesn't necessarily happen. Um, okay. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. The lady who fell off the boat, in the Bahamas, and the husband's like, I have no idea what happened. She just fell off the boat, and then now they've arrested him. Um, and this is not the first or second or 15th or 100th story of, like a man murdering his wife via boat. And then there's the situation with the Hawaii guy, and it reminded me of how vulnerable we are when we get in a boat, or yeah, that's you with your sister. Oh, like trying to stand up for yourself and not look like yeah, yeah. So what I was gonna say is, so it reminded me of how vulnerable we are when we like go to remote locations with somebody. We're on a boat with somebody. We're in a car with somebody. I remember one time I was on a girls' trip, and it turned out that two of my friends, lady friends on this trip, were not emotionally stable people. And so I was trapped in a city hours from my own city and basically trying to play peacemaker between these two unstable individuals, because in my mind I'm like, this is a small town, there's nowhere to rent a car, there is no Uber to get 3 hours back to the place that I live. I need people to get along so that we can get back to where we came from and I can be safe. And I resolved in my mind never again to get into a car with people, even if I think I like them, where I don't have an out or a way to escape the situation. What a horrible idea that turned out to be. Now I'm very much like, I'm going to drive me. That sounds good. Highly recommend. But it's it's so hard when you're in a relationship or you think that you're very close with someone or maybe it's family and so you think, "Oh, no, it's fine if I get in someone else's car." And the amount of times I've been in someone else's car and realized, "Oh no, I'm stuck. I'm stuck." And I don't want to be here. This situation is going in a direction that I do not think is a good direction. So the lady uh the family of the lady who fell off the boat in the Bahamas or Bermuda or wherever, they said that the relationship has a lot of ups and downs. Like they had a toxic relationship, and so I have tried to communicate to victims of abuse over the years. Like anytime that you're saying something like our relationship has a lot of ups and downs, or we're very passionate, uh, that doesn't sound romantic to me anymore. It might have when I was younger, but it now it's like red flags. I'm like, "Oh, we're not stable." Like we're not in a stable situation where everyone is safe and there's, conflict looks different in a healthy dynamic than in an unhealthy one. I didn't know that when you're in a healthy dynamic, the conflict like brings you closer and you understand this other person better. And isn't it isn't emotionally up and down. You just have this like really deep discussion and you leave it just like even more impressed with this other person. Whereas when you're in the toxic dynamic or the abuse dynamic, it's like it feels like you're in a trial or debate, or maybe it's like this, yelling passion, fiery kind of dynamic. Um, that we convince ourselves is a good thing. And it's no, no, the healthy one is so much better, and I wish that's what would show up in, like, a movie, a romance movie where, like, "Oh, I this thing happened, and I had these feelings, and I really just wanted to talk to you about it," and you "Oh, I had no idea," and, "Oh, can you give me more of your perspective?" And then you get their perspective, and you're like, "Oh, wow, I didn't know this. Now I feel I understand you so much better." Like, it's, um it's like a meeting of the minds, like I don't want to say a mind meld, but it's so much more collaborative and it's intimate and it's deep and it's not drama and it's not exhausting. So much better in life for everybody. Yeah, healthy conflict. Highly recommend. The first time it happened to me, I was like, what was this? I had no idea. Um, let's see. Oh, yeah, being trapped in a car with an abuser or unsafe person or a boat. Yeah, we're just like real casual about people and things when we're having fun. And I wish someone would have told me that I will be more likely to lower my guard with friends, friend groups. I might be more likely to do things I wouldn't normally do just because the friend group we're doing a fun thing and I want to be a part of the fun. Um, Yeah, so whenever I see like the toxic dynamics with the friend groups and victims want to solve it by keeping the friend group and it's like it's so hard because I don't think there's a way to strategize that. For some reason, the most fun person is often the most narcissistic person. Like how? Maybe it's because they're the one that like makes decisions about what everyone's going to do and they just they're sort of dominant and everyone just goes along with it and it seems fun. I don't know. I just know that after however many years, I just gotten to the point where every time I see a large friend group, the main driver of the friend group is often like the least healthy person who has the most entitlement. And it's like, how? Why? Why is a normal person not in charge? And I do wonder if it's because, when you have a healthy sense of self, you're not going to arrogate yourself over others, but then that's what creates the circumstances for the fun, maybe? I don't know. Could be that. Oh, hey, what's up? How are you doing? Um, oh my gosh, guys, hello. Yeah, sorry. So I was on time. I just want to say I was on time. I did great. I haven't caffeine. Um, I think I was before 7:01. So like good for me. I'm working on that. The ADHD is strong. So, all right. I What's up? The Hawaii Dugami. Yeah, that was okay. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that met the elements for murder, but um, you see that's the thing. You can't guarantee an outcome. You cannot guarantee a jury. You can't guarantee a judge. You can have the best case. Um, I forgot what time these starts. Is it after 7 already? My bad. It starts when I get to it. Like, don't please do not feel bad. This is okay. Okay, so why does my hair always I'm gonna tell you the secret. The reason why I started these, because I've never been like, I want to be a YouTube person. Is I wanted to have a place where people could come when the stuff starts to be horrible. So that there's a place to come to that people go, oh, okay, I know where I can go and maybe get support or we can talk about it or ideas, something. Basically like what would I have done before COVID? So it's low key, very, very low key. No worries. Um, yeah, so I already talked about justifying violence if we believe someone is a victim. Oh, I wanted to talk about how to use different rubrics for thinking. This is something, first of all, that victim or that abusers are terrible at, and victims are really good at. Victims are really good at being able to put themselves into other people's shoes, especially the abuser, and seeing the world from their perspective. Um, and abusers, they're absolutely like adamantly opposed to even doing that. And I wanted to say, so I noticed rubrics, please. Glad I, oh, yeah, yeah. So a rubric is basically a framework that helps you identify whether a thing is a thing or not. Not exactly a checklist. Um, but the ability to think from someone else's perspective, I think, is something that a lot of people can struggle with. So, to take it to politics, it's very difficult for someone who is a Republican to understand Democrats. And it's hard for Democrats to understand someone who is a Republican. And so when you're in those spaces and you're looking at those people and you're just like you're terrible, how could you possibly think this way? This is along the lines of what I'm talking about. The way you can start to identify how someone thinks is by identifying their primary values. And so it's not going to be the ones they tell you. So, like an abuser might say, my primary value that I agree with is, I don't know, they're often loyalty and like unconditional love. Um, yep. The abusers are often like loyalty or unconditional love. And that's so when you can identify their value, and then understand that this value that they think that they align with is really only ever pointed in one direction, never their own, you can understand that their underlying primary value is they want what they want. That's the value. That's why they keep switching to a different argument or a different manipulation or different method to get what they want because the underlying value is not loyalty or unconditional love. That's just what they want you to give them. The underlying value is selfishness, me, what I want. So when you think you've nailed the value, how you can figure out if that is in fact the value is by what their actions show you. If the actions are not showing you that they are responding to you in a loyal way, in an unconditional love way, then you know that's not their value. So you start with the values, and then you look at their actions to see if the values line up with the actions. Sometimes people are not aware of their own intrinsic personal values, or they really struggle to see it from different perspectives. So I'll give an example, a spicy example. So sorry, guys. Okay, so let's talk about like if you are trans. So from your perspective, you might think, I value liberty. I value personal freedom. This is a core value for me, and you might like frame your identity around that. However, there's someone who maybe doesn't agree, right? And they think I have a personal value of personal liberty and you're infringing on my personal liberty. So it's not really about those values. You can look at the actions and go, okay, this action doesn't apply. So really, if like, for example, we were trans, we might go, oh, you know what? No, personal liberty, that's not the core value. The core value is aligning with, how do I put this? Aligning with humanity, like a humanistic value. Whereas, somebody who is not on this, oh yeah, yep. Someone who is not like, supporting, let's say, a trans person, they're thinking, well, my personal value is personal liberty. That's not their personal value. Their personal value may be legitimately thinking in terms of, let's say, mental stability or safety, even if they don't frame it that way. Do the actions line up with that? Like, doesn't mean that they're accurately assessing the safety, but if you look at that security or safety value underlying that perspective, so you have two people who think, oh, I value personal freedom. Really, the personal freedom for themselves is how that their other value is expressed, but the value is in personal freedom. Am I making sense? Wait, I once asked I have shown that I can see things from your perspective and at least understand it. Would you be willing to return the favor? No. The answer is no. No. I said this earlier. Hold up. Yeah. Okay. They feel like they're betraying themselves or their values and morals if they see something from someone else's perspective, because they can't tolerate validating a perspective that is not the one they think is correct or the one that is theirs. Yep. Blank stare. 100%. Absolutely believe it. So anyway, so you identify the value and then you look at the actions and then you go, okay, what do these actions tell me about this person's values? And then that gives you kind of a sense of like how they might see the world and therefore what kinds of decisions they might make or how they might orient toward other people. And I think, yep. Oh yeah. So I don't know if you were here for this part, but the actions show that they're selfish. What they want is their values, like the me of it all. That's what they want. Yes. Yep. So I think what sort of helped me do this is that legal training and also exposure to a lot of people's different experiences. Because if you want to represent somebody, you have to be able to see the world from their perspective. And even if you don't agree with it, you're like, okay, I understand how you think about the world. I understand how you orient toward things. I understand your decision making. There's a cohesiveness generally to that. And even if you don't agree with it, you go, okay, I understand how we got from A to B to C. Now, if you're dealing with somebody who's got some like mental kind of health challenges, that coherence may not be there, or it may be like an emotion specific coherence. So it might change depending on how they feel. But yeah, so you can put yourself in their shoes. Now, the reason why I'm like really interested in drilling down on this is because I have figured out the victims of abuse really struggle to identify when other people are unsafe or don't like them, have contempt, who are trying to power over them. And so they have this model of this other person based off what they think this person feels and thinks and is, and the model is wrong. And then they're very confused. Or they might think this or right. It doesn't mean you agree with it, but you understand it. And honestly, when you understand what someone's values are and where they're coming from, you get a lot further when you have like those discussions or debates, or you can be more effective to like the audience. Really, it the more information, the better, as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't mean you agree, but being able to hold an idea without agreeing with it or not. And I feel like people don't do that as much anymore. But we can't assume everyone will be so open-minded. Yeah. No, exactly. Wait, what? Sorry, I lost the thread. I lost the thread. So yeah, so when you're a victim or a vulnerable person, actually, let's say, it can be very easy to assume everyone thinks the way that you think and looks at the world the way that you look at the world and thinks everybody's a good person. And so when you come across these like assholes, it can be very confusing. And you might be able to think, or you might think like, oh, I'm going to be able to love this. I'll show them the truth. I'll show them what, there are good people out here. And then that turns into like a Sisyphean task that just traps you in a terrible dynamic, because we're not understanding how this person sees the world. If someone's intrinsically, they feel like their value is selfish or their value is innate, it's superiority, if they enjoy powering over other people, or they think everyone's terrible and it's because they know what they're like, then the sooner we can figure out how people think, the better we can really understand their model of the world and also whether or not they're a safe person. um, yeah. I really see victims struggling with this one in particular. So there was a ballet guy on Instagram and he was talking about he's like how to correct, he teaches children. So I guess he teaches children ballet. And he basically said you never want to correct a child more than 2 to 3 times because then you can see they just sort of give up. And I thought that was so smart. Usually, I feel like we teach adults to sandwich the criticism, like you compliment, criticize, compliment, so that way they feel like they can hear the criticism. Um, but so many of the like this is accurate people feel fully entitled to criticize us, because I'm correct. And the criticism comes from a place of contempt, so it's already mean. It's not for the purpose of building anybody up. So they'll cloak it in the like constructive criticism framework when that's not correct for what they're doing. Um, and I just that's such a good example again of how they will they'll hijack the normal relationship or the business management tools or techniques where with a normal person in a normal situation with healthy people it would work, but that's not what you're dealing with, so that's not what you get. um I also really liked when someone criticizes you, they're criticizing you about your outcome most of the time. When you have someone who's giving you constructive criticism, they're often giving you that criticism about the process. They're not making like a judgment about your outcome. And so it's like, oh, maybe if you tweak this thing, you might get a better result because they're invested in what you're doing. They're invested in your process. They're invested in who you are, versus, someone who is just using it as an excuse to judge you even further. So I just really think that, when someone is a little bit more process oriented versus because that might help you. That might help you do the thing you're trying to accomplish better versus like, oh, this product is terrible. Yeah. We're just spotting these people in the wild. Although I will say there's a reason why I get people asking me all the time, like, how should I do XYZ thing? And I just, first of all, everybody lives in different places, like different countries and stuff like that. And I don't want to, Like the advice you would give someone in, let's say, Iran versus the advice you'd give someone in America, not the same advice, different structures, different social mores. You got to be so careful. But also, I think sometimes as, as going back to the having the different frameworks and ways of thinking, like I have different frameworks and ways of thinking that I use for different things. So I might think that one framework, because like obviously I'm a Christian. So I might think like the one that would work might be a Christian framework, but I'm not going to give that to anybody in it for an abuse dynamic, right? Um, and so the abuse dynamic framework is a framework where you're not really telling people or shouldn't be telling people like this is what you do. I do like when people talk about how they got out of situations. I think that gives people more ideas. So, I know for me, I was extremely motivated when I was in high school. Well, really just all throughout school. I was very motivated to get good grades because I knew that that was my shot of getting out of my abusive household. I was like, I was on those grades, I had a job, I was volunteering, I was getting out of the house. And that was really important to me because I knew that that would be that would be my way out. And I wouldn't be stuck in poverty or with this situation. Obviously, but not everyone can do that. We all have different capacities. We may not all live in the same situation. Someone pretended. Nice. The strategery. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's good. That's good. That's funny. I like that. I also like where you just act like they have the best intentions towards you and you're just really positive and appreciative, like, oh, thank you so much, this is wow, you're so thoughtful, and you know I I'm not gonna I've definitely done that before, especially if there's someone else around and we all know the truth. That's effective too. um yeah, so let me see. I think this didn't quite go how I wanted to do it, but that's okay. I think I'm gonna end it here if that's okay with you. Yeah. Oh, wait, one more thing. I wrote abusers are like advertisers. They're attention capturing. Um, I feel like sometimes like going down the road or being on the internet or something, I'm just like, I just want to have my own mind to myself. I just want to be able to be in the world and not have people force their stupid commercials on me. Like, I should be able to not have commercials. I should be able to opt out of this. This is like so obnoxious. And it made me think of the way that abusers absolutely insist that they have your attention, that you listen to them, that you take them seriously. Which some of the time, sure, fine if you're in a relationship, but oh my God, all of the time, every single day, they just colonize our minds. Yeah. You just act like they intended it in a good way. Yep, yep. Nailed it. 100%. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to end things here and I hope you have a really great weekend. And it was really good to see you. Also, everyone else. And I will talk to y'all next time. Yeah. We're having a good weekend.